Alright, welcome back to the Talking Joe podcast. If you are just joining, that means you haven't heard the first, let's not call it an episode, the trailer of this podcast. I think you should do. It's 1 minute and some sort of introduction. But it's fine, because this itself is another introduction and the main introduction. So welcome to the Talking Joe podcast. I'm Talking Joe. Well, that's what I am on the podcast. My name is Joseph, and Talking Joe is a name I have come to enjoy in the last couple of months. Not initially at first, but now it sounds strange when people call, "Hey, Talking Joe." I'm like, are you calling me? And then I remember, oh, you selected the name, so you have to answer it. So it's like picking a decision and then sticking with the decision. So Talking Joe has become part of me. I like it because of what it means to me, and we are going to discuss that on another podcast episode, how the name came and what the name means to me. But for this episode, this is some sort of an introduction, and we're just going to talk. So thank you and welcome. Alright, for an introduction, my name is Joseph, and an introduction to the podcast would be, I said on the trailer episode that this is a podcast where we are just going to have conversations. We're just going to talk about random stuff, at least at first. We're just going to enjoy the flow, talk about topics I like to talk about. What exactly would those topics be? Well, easy. I'm a Christian. I'm a loud one at that. It means I hold the tenets of my faith very dearly to me and very strongly, so I'm loud about it. So we'll sometimes talk about stuff that revolve around my faith. Stuff's about the Bible, stuff popular wrong beliefs, and maybe things that can just help. And much more on that. Then we could also get to talk about just that, being a Christian, what that entails, what are the benefits of being a Christian, how's my Christian journey. We're going to talk about that as well. Then I'm a teacher, a proud one at that. Well, proud one because now I am doing the job. I wasn't proud as a teacher when I was a student, because God knows I had the limitation of teaching. My God. Go to university only to read 4 years and become a teacher. Well, now, seeing how that has geared and changed my perspective towards life, and how that I see teaching not just as passing information, which is essentially what is happening on this podcast. I now see teaching as shaping lives. I've become really much more proud about it, because I understand that teaching isn't just restricted to the four walls of a classroom. Teaching can be done anywhere. But I am a classroom teacher, at least for now. At least for now, being that I can change. There can be professional course change, professional change of a career of some sort. Finally, I love music, and I am in the process of becoming an audio engineer. In the process, because it takes years, and God cannot get started on that. I love music, and I love just working with music. In fact, fun fact, I don't think in my adult, not 20, no, wrong. I don't think in my adult years, at least going for the last 10 or 12 years, in fact, since I started using a phone that been able to play music, I don't think I have gone a single day in my life where I have not played music, either into my ears directly or out loud. I don't think I have done that. That's how addicted I am. I can stay with a phone that doesn't have data. Yeah, I can stay with a phone with no movies, but I can't stay with a phone with no music. I just can't. And when I get people who are not enthusiastic about music and just listening, even if it's the same sound as much as I am, I'm surprised. How are you surviving? Like, how are you doing life without music? How are you doing life without sound, like without being able to just take your mind off of everything and allow music drive you? Because sometimes that's what music does to me. These basically are the issues that interest me. Oh, and finally, the big one. So very recently, I have observed that I'm beginning to find interest in social psychology. Social psychology, generally, psychology of people. Studying how people behave, what pushes people, ethics and morality in general. I'm beginning to find that very, very interesting. I think a lot of the conversations I have now are generally geared towards how people behave and why they do the way they do. I don't know, but it's been on like that for the last couple of months, yeah, at least, or years, maybe 2-3 years. Just been, and I would say that this stems from teaching in a classroom, because teaching in a classroom, you have to sit down and observe your students, and just sitting down and observing students and observing their behaviors opens my mind up to the predictability of human beings. Really, human beings can be predictable, at least when observing them. So, social psychology is something I'm becoming very particular about. In fact, I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and I told her, I said, and then we were talking, and then she said, why social psychology? And I said, it's something that I just started to love too. So, we are going to be talking about that. So, for an introduction, that's all there is. That's all there is for this podcast to know about me, because I'm really very private. I'm private, and I think I like it that way, because the less you know about a person, I think the better. Not really true, but it's what I hold sometimes as a person, I believe. So I'm going to, on one episode, explain why I think so. Alright, now I have a fun fact. So this episode is titled Introduction/Pilot. Now, it's titled Pilot because apparently a few days ago I was researching something, and it dawned on me to title this episode the pilot episode. So I watch a lot of series, Hollywood series to be specific. I watch it like a whole lot, most especially the ones shot between 2000 and 2010. And I always noticed something, that the first episode of each series was titled the pilot episode, but it just never occurred to me, why do different movies, different genres, different storylines always title most of them always title the first episode pilot episode? Why? So I sat down to research, and I'm bringing this info to you because I know you haven't researched it. Don't worry, you don't have to pay. It's free. The service is free, because you probably were not going to research it if I told you to do so. I'll help you. Now, pilot episode, there's no exact reason in the movie world why the episode is titled the pilot episode. A lot of people speculate, and I'm going to give you the two broad groups of speculation. For the first group, so they speculate that It's titled the pilot episode because apparently when you want to shoot a series, the first episode, the episode draft you take to the production company is basically it's titled the pilot because it's upon that episode draft that the entirety of the series is going to build. So as a writer, you're going to ensure that you write to capture the entire idea of your movie, of your film on that first episode. So that episode has to give people as many ideas into what the entire series will look like. Because if you don't do that, the production company may not accept your approval. And then you don't accept your approval. If you don't accept your approval, basically your movie won't get aired. So for that, you have to write it as a pilot episode because it's upon that episode that every other episodes will build. That's one group of speculation. Now, another group of speculation is this. So, movies are released, but then series are aired. Like aired, A-I-R-E-D. So, because of that, they say that the first episode has to be called the pilot because that's the episode. So, like air, you know how a plane flies in air. So, like that's the episode that is basically driving the entirety of the series. So, because the series is going to air on TV, because series are not released, like you don't drop the entire 12 seasons at once, it airs weekly. So they say because it's going to be released it's going to be aired on TV for a couple of weeks, so the very first episode has to be the pilot episode because apparently in the plane the first person is a pilot. So that, and then there's a last subgroup of speculation, not really one that I fancy, but then it's from the Greek word pleidon, and then pleidon means I think pleidon means flight. So some persons just believe from the Greek word pleidon means flight. So pilot episode is like the flight episode, the episode that takes it off. So basically, I subscribe to category 2 more than I do to category 1 and category 3. So because of that idea of category 2, I have titled this episode the pilot episode, introduction / pilot episode, because every other episode is going to take flight or is going to air from this first episode. And with that, we've come to the end of the pilot episode. Thank you, and until I see you next time, it's Talking Joe. Thank you.